know it's difficult for the players on the field to be masked, but what about the coaches and the umpires and all the non-players on the field? I noticed the pictures from Gardner, nobody was masked. I don't know if those are from this year or some other time.
We've got Messalonski Area Youth Softball is one of the organizations that would like to use the fields. Messalonski Cal Ripken, which is a baseball for about 8 to 12-year-old boys, would like to use the fields. And we also have Hazel Abbey that would like to use the field for a personal training. And I've asked all three of them to send us their protocol for keeping kids safe. The common thread would be less than 50 people on the field, an area from, well, like the outfield side of the dugouts on the outside of the field, if that makes sense. From there around the backstop to the other side would be for players and coaches only.
Yeah.
And then family, depending on the league, they're asking for a very few people. I believe it's Mesa is saying one family member or one adult per kid at the field at any time.
It's Waterville.
Kind of spread them out around the outfield, so to speak. So I guess it kind of varies per organization that wants to use the fields. K-Wisp ourselves, we're trying to set something up for the younger kids, like T-ballers and from like 5-year-olds to 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. More of a skills building type thing where we bring 4 or 5 kids to a time on the field. That's still a work in progress. Really, I reached out to Anthony to make sure that we were actually able to even use the fields and then kind of go from there.
Yep.
I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
yeah, no, I think it does. I didn't realize you were talking. I thought we were talking just about the Belgrade kids, but you're talking about kids from all over, actually.
Mesa is they're kids from actually Mesa and MCR are both kids from the greater community.
Yeah.
Messalonski, Cal Ripken, we've blended the baseball between Oakland, Sydney, Rome, and Belgrade because we've kind of fallen off numbers where we don't have enough kids to have a Belgrade team and an Oakland team and a Sydney team. So we put them all into one big pool and divide up teams based on numbers.
Do you think that any of the groups will have any problems keeping the number down to 50 or less?
There's been a discussion, and I don't believe there's any problem with that.
Yeah, because that's a state regulation right now.
Right.
That's one of the things I think we would insist on.
The only problem I would have with that is really how do we police it? I mean, do we have to stay at the gate and count? And once we hit 50, shut everybody off? Or is it more of an honest?
Or have them go stand outside the fence and watch. I mean, that I think that they're outside the fence. Then you have, if I remember correctly, there's a fence around the outside of the outfield. Is that correct?
You've got a fence around the playing field, and then there's a fence around the entire perimeter.
Right. And I mean, personally, I don't know. We'll see what our health officer thinks, but I would look at that as 2 separate areas, so that if you had an overflow, more than 50 people that wanted to watch, if you could move them out, that might be a way to handle that.
Okay.
But it's important that we follow the state regulation.
And that's something, I mean, not to pass the buck, but that's something that I've expressed to both Mesa and MCR, that we have to follow certain guidelines. And that was part of the reason why I asked for their mitigation protocol, or whatever the proper term is. And I do have that. I didn't forward that on to the board, but I can forward that to Anthony and he can pass that around. But it's pretty much, they're pretty much saying the same. No dugouts, no sharing of helmets, bring your own water bottle. I mean, just common sense stuff.
They were, for what we read from the different groups, they were pretty well common sense, and they pretty much mirrored what the state's looking for. So
Yeah.
the thing that I was concerned about is that they be serious about masking, using face coverings, anybody who can. You're running around the bases, I realize you're not going to be able to cover your face.
Right.
Right. Yeah. But that and the 50, maintaining a 50 rule, 50 or less. So.
Yep.
Melanie, did you have your hand up?
I did.
You have a question?
Yeah. So, Aaron, if there's a full team of kids are we talking about?
How many kids?
Yeah. So if we had 2 teams coming to play.
I don't know if I really caught all that because the connection
Total.
sucks. But what a lot of people, that's why we're kind of cutting off the parents at the outfield side of the dugouts, and so we can put the kids and the coaches and everything outside of the dugouts. But I don't know how to explain it. I could draw a picture, but so that like from behind the dugouts all the way around each side, that's where the players and the coaches are, so they can get outside of the dugouts and not be all congregated. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
So Aaron, I think she may have been asking how many kids total do you have on a team? If you have 2 teams playing, how many kids total are you going to have?
For Messalons, for the Cal Ripken, I think they're trying to keep it to 10 or 11 kids. Mesa would be more of just a practice. So I think Peter told me he has 12 kids. And then as far as T-ball and anything else that we try to do in-house, we can keep it to any number we want, really. Whether we're doing small drill practice type sessions or a small game, we can fudge the numbers there to make it, or not fudge, but we can work the numbers there to make sure that we're staying underneath the state guidelines.
Well, it seems to me if you have 10 kids on a team, then you still have 30 other slots to fill, so to speak. You have 30 other people can be on, minus of course the people that are participating. There's coaches and all those folks.
Right. And to my understanding, they're saying 50 people within the boundaries of the field, and then just like one parent per kid that can stay outside along the perimeter.
Yeah, as long as you keep the distance, anybody outside should be maintaining that 6-foot distance, standing apart. And that's easy enough to comply with, I think. Kathy, did you have something?
I guess there are 2 things that come to mind, and one is I think in the rec program it's 50. That includes staff. So that's in that number 50. And the other thing is, as I'm looking over these papers, it does not say that coaches or spectators require masks, at least in the Cal Ripken stuff.
Okay.
So, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable if they're wearing masks.
We can insist that, but to my understanding, as long as you're keeping 6 feet apart, you don't need a mask.
If you're outside, yeah.
If you're outside, so.
Yeah.
Well,
But I mean, if that
way
makes
you
everybody
look.
feel more comfortable, we can push that. But
Well, I would think certainly when they're up close and talking to kids, like coaches talking to the kids, they should be, if they're not on the field, they should be wearing masks if they're up close talking. But if they maintain that 6-foot separation and they're outside, they're probably all right, and they still meet state regulation.
Right.
It can't hurt to be masked, however.
All right.
Melanie?
I have a couple.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Melanie.
So one of the things that I'm concerned about. Can you hear me?
Well, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi here at the library tonight's really wonky. So one of one of my thoughts is kudos to trying to figure out what the new norm is going to be. Because it is going to be similar to this moving forward. So we've got to figure out how we navigate and how we teach kids and adults the best ways to do it. So being outside and 6 feet apart and not wearing a covering, if somebody coughs or sneezes or yells and cheers, spittle is still going to come their mouth. And it travels more than 6 feet.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, a sneeze goes what, 17 feet? Insist on face coverings.
Yep.
The other concern, if we say 2 teams of 11 kids, 2 coaches apiece, so we're at 22, 23, 24, 25, at least 26 people then. Then if you have 1 adult per child, you're going to have families who have to bring their other kids. So I'm worried that that number 50 is going to get hit quickly. So it's going to be really tricky with the youth sports programs to maintain that level because, Aaron, when you're working on coaching, you're not going to be able to be policing people coming and going.
Right.
So somehow we've got to figure out, you know, a person who can do the policing, who can be saying, you know, there's too many people on the field. We got to have some folks move outside the fence. It's going to be a work in progress. You know, I think it's really important. We've got to keep kids engaged and outside and getting exercise and learning skills. We have to figure out how we do all these things. And I think everything that we're doing and that you're trying to do is getting us to that. But we've got to understand that it is still going to be a work in progress and there may need to be some tweaking.
Right.
Not everybody's going to be happy about it, but
I mean, I guess that's, we can put all the plans in place that we want, and it's going to come down, like you said, Melanie, come down to a little bit of tweaking, see how things work, see how this works, you know, okay, so, but I think that the one thing that we can do, that I can stress, because I also sit on the Messalonskee Cal Ripken board, is I can stress if we're going to use these fields, there is no wiggle room to the 50. We have to maintain that. Oakland has shut down their Pleasant Point field, so that's unavailable. Sydney, I'm not exactly sure where they're at as far as utilizing their fields. So it's not going to be anything that is foreign to the board to have to, if they want to play baseball there, they're going to have to conform to it. And I can make that well known that if we go down there and you got 75 people, I'm shutting it down. Because part of the deal would be if you want to utilize the fields, you have to adhere to what everybody has been, what all the guidelines have been said. I hate to say that. I'd love to open it up and have all the kids there because that's part of our program. But I understand the times we're in right now. And unfortunately, I don't know how, and I'm up for suggestions from anybody, but I don't know how to really start right out from ground zero and make sure this happens other than just sitting there and with a clicker and counting people. As far as the kids and whatnot on the field, you're probably going to have a few. You're not going to have the 26 you're talking because the coaches are going to be one of the parents with some of the kids. So you probably be closer to 20, 25, I'm guessing, 24. But even still, it's just something that we can do the best we can to say, you know, if you guys want to play baseball, this is what we have to do. And if you're not doing it, we're going to shut it down.
Aaron, you're right. I mean, the fact is, it's unlikely any of us are going to come down and take a head count. So we'll rely on you to do the best you can. The last thing that either the leagues need or the town of Belgrade needs is to have a kid get sick and have it tracked back to that game, to a game down there. So we just want all the precautions possible to be taken and adhere as closely as you can to the guidelines. Kathy, you waving at me?
I'm waving at you, yes.
Okay, what do you have to say?
I guess I don't want to put you on the spot, Christine Merkins,
I was
but
gonna-
we do have a health officer for the town. And perhaps this is an opportunity for us to utilize her even further, to sort of periodically check out what's going down at the baseball field.
Yeah, Christina's tough. We send her down to take account, which she'll throw them right out of the
Aaron,
field.
if that might be some help for you, Aaron.
Christine, all kidding aside, do you have any comments to make? Any thoughts? Any concerns?
No, my thought was exactly what Kathy was just mentioning, is that perhaps whenever the games that I go down and check to see what's happening and how many are there and whether we're following regulations, because that is my responsibility. So I am willing to do that and to be sure that that occurs, because like, Michael just said, the contact tracing back to somebody that, contracted COVID-19 from a field that we allowed people to go through the town. That's not going to be a good thing for the town. So I agree with Kathy. I think I should do periodic stops down to see how many are there and what's happening. And if I could have a copy of the schedule of the games, so.
I can make sure to when I
Plus, I love baseball, so.
Aaron, you're all broken up. We're not sure what you were saying.
Forwarding what? My internet connection's unstable. What I'll do is when Mesalonsky Cal Ripken has the schedule figured out and we know what games are going to be scheduled at Workman Field, I can forward that to Anthony because that's the only email address that I have out of the whole board, and he can pass it along.
Yeah, he'll see that Christine gets it, and anyway, if we were to vote to give you permission to use the field, who are we giving permission to? There's so many groups involved. Who's actually? Are you? Your group?
K-WISP is throughout. I've been involved with it for approximately 15 years now, and we've always had at the town meeting. There's always been a warrant article dedicating, well, for the lack of a better word, control over what happens down the field to K-WISP. Where they didn't have the town meeting this year, this is part of the reason too why I wanted to talk with the select board, just to make sure that since we didn't have a signed contract this year, we were still able to do what we normally do with all the COVID things under consideration. So what we do is just kind of utilize the fields how we see fit, I guess the best way to put it. Mesa is an outside softball program managed separately from K-WISP, and we let them utilize our fields. Mesalonsky, Cal Ripken, like I said, it's Belgrade, Oakland, Sydney, Rome, and they utilize the fields, and we have our own in-house program. I don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah, I think so. Melanie, did you want to say something?
I did.
Go ahead.
So my other concern that I have is for the parents that already struggle to pay the dues for the kids to participate in the sports. And if we're requiring that every kid has all of their own equipment, some families are not going to be able to afford a batting helmet, their own bat, batting gloves. So so this should be like a donation drive. I mean, I've got, am I still here?
You cut in and out. We lost you for a while.
Sorry, this Wi-Fi think is wonky at the library today.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there should be some sort of a donation drive, because adding on top of parents, some of whom may not have been working, the financial implications of this, that they have to provide all of these things that some of them have been shared over these. There's always a handful of bats. There's always a handful of batting helmets. Things that the kids didn't necessarily have to provide for themselves. So I'm wondering if we should also consider like a donation drive so that people can donate their
Aaron, could you
so that kids them.
Aaron, could you give us some sort of an idea? You may have to stop and think about this and tell us later. But how many kids would be affected by this problem?
By
And
not having the equipment.
yes, not being able.
I would say, right off the top of my head, you're probably looking at, maybe a quarter of the kids.
Can you?
That don't have their own equipment. However, we do have equipment that I'd have to look into how to sterilize it and sign it out to them. So, say Johnny doesn't have a bat and a helmet. We provide the bat and the helmet. We sign it out. And part of at the end of the season, we bring it back. By and large, a lot of the kids have their own equipment. So I don't think it's a huge deal. I know it's not that some kid's not going to be able to play just because he doesn't have a bat or a helmet.
All right. Can you give it some thought? If you feel that is going to be a problem, let Anthony know with some numbers about how much it would cost to meet the need. What I'm thinking is I know of some other groups that might be able to help out, depending upon what the need is. So, okay.
We have had great success in encouraging donations, both to the food pantry from a financial standpoint and people delivering goods. And I feel pretty certain that if we did that with our community in regards to sporting equipment for the youth sports leagues, I think the community would respond. So,
well, what I'm thinking also is that the outreach program from church already has the league on one of their line items. So I don't think we're talking about a tremendous amount of money here. I think probably they could help out if we asked.
And the other thing that we have, the other avenue that we might have is, well, for example, my son is aged out, as we say. So he has a bunch of stuff that he had over the years that's just collecting dust down in the basement. And we pull it out, squirt it down with some sanitizer and pass it along. As long as it's clean and like I said, we'd have to research just what to use to make.
What I was thinking, Aaron, is,
Go ahead, Melanie. What happened? Melanie's gone.
that was along the lines of what I was thinking, is maybe like, am I gone again?
You're back now.
Come and go. You come and go.
Okay.
Like the wind.
But that's kind of what I think is, I have my kids played straight up through at least junior high. So I have really good bats and gloves, batting helmets and things that I'd be happy to donate. So that's where I was wondering if maybe like a used equipment clinic or something, so that the kids who don't have it might be able to have their own without it costing a ton of money.
And that's something that we've talked about, and for whatever reason, we're a volunteer board. Everybody has a full-time job. It's not like Oakland where you got Eric Seekins that can kind of set everything up. But we've talked about that before, like on a field cleanup day, if you have some cleats or bats or helmet or whatever that still meets the criteria that you need, because there are certain things that for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a money grab or what on somebody else, but they've changed standards for bats and whatnot. But bring it down to the field, put it on the table, and somebody that doesn't have the means to afford to buy the stuff, take it. Bring something back, like a swap meet, more or less.
Right.
We've kicked that around, and like I said, for one reason or another, I couldn't tell you exactly why, but it just hasn't happened. But I think that that's something that, and if there's a need in the community, if some kid needs a helmet, we're not going to let them go without a helmet. It's like I said, we're there for the kids to play baseball, softball, soccer. We're not gonna say no, you can't play because you ain't got a helmet.
Well, like I said, if you feel you're going to come up short, talk to Anthony. He'll get back to us.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yep.
Now that, to use a baseball analogy, since I think we've covered all the bases, we're ready to make a motion and vote on this.
Make a motion, we accept this.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded to accept the request to use the field. Any other discussion? How do you vote,
Should we-
Kathy? Excuse me, go ahead. Go ahead, Melanie.
Should
You
we
lo-
do the signed contract that we've always done with K-West? Should we do the signed contract with K-West that we've done in the past?
I think the signed contract is just waiting on the town meeting, if I understand correctly. Anthony?
So maybe Linda or Lily, maybe one of you two ladies could weigh in and explain sort of what the traditional relationship has been between K-WISP and the town.
They're not here.
We're
Yeah,
here. Oh, go ahead, Linda.
Well, K-WISP has typically worked independently from the town. Yeah, there's a contract that is signed, but the town doesn't provide a lot of oversight as far as like the rec board is concerned. I guess I'm not sure if there's something specific that you're looking for. Or?
Basically, the contract, Linda, I think, it covers the use of the field. The town gives the organization the right to use the field for the season.
Yeah.
That's
And we don't
pretty
do it-
much.
We don't do any micromanaging at all.
No, you just take over the field and use it and maintain it and not right, Aaron?
Yeah, and that's basically why I reached out, just to make sure, because we didn't have the signed contract, I wanted to make sure that we were still all set to proceed, however it may be, to proceed like we normally do, running some sort of a program, rather than just start up and then have somebody from the town say, hey, whoa, what the hell are you doing down there? You don't even have a contract. And
Well,
because of the circumstances.
If the board votes to allow you to do it, nobody from the town's going to give you grief. But Anthony, can you look at the contract, pull it out, and also look at the emergency legislation that went through? We may be able just to extend that contract without having to issue a new one. You follow me, Anthony?
I do. I'll do some research, and if we need to have something on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, we may just only have to extend it and not have to go to town meeting.
It's like-
But in the meantime, let's vote. Did somebody, Ricky, you made the motion?
I made the motion.
And who seconded it?
Melanie did, I believe.
Melanie did.
Made and second. Okay, we ready to vote? Kathy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
Ernie? Ernie?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Thank you, Ernie.
Yes.
Melanie? Yes. Chair votes yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 5-0. You're all set.
I appreciate, on behalf of the kids of Belgrade, and the great area, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
We're glad to have it. Glad to be able to do it for the kids and for the parents and whomever else. Just follow the rules. We don't.
Hopefully we'll bring back a little bit of normalcy.
I hope so.
Linda
Take care.
Bacon
Thank you for coming down, taking your time, coming
Not a
down.
problem.
Thank you for
Thank you.
turning on your computer. All
I had to
right.
find somebody turn this off.
Next item is,
Linda Bacon has her hand up.
yes, Linda Bacon.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the contract extension. It's probably a good idea to reference the vote in tonight's board meeting and the list of criteria that were shared about using the field and being COVID compliant.
Hey, why don't you take that into consideration, Anthony, and maybe talk to Linda, make sure you got it all right. Because it's going to add, if we put all those considerations on there, it's going to make that contract about 30 pages long, but that's all right.
Well, and of course, the state has guidelines for community sports, and so that might be a good addendum to that contract.
What
Yeah, I
it
think
But the
does do-
signature page is gonna be the same.
What it does do is give Aaron the document to point to saying that this is the agreement that we have, and if we don't meet this, they can boot us off.
You'll put the padlock on the gate.
You're not gonna have police, you're not gonna have a big stick, but you'll have this piece of paper.
Right.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again, Aaron, very much. Have a good season, what's left of it.
I hope to.
Next item, consideration of insurance settlement agreement for $11,500 related to the 2019 tanker truck crash. Who's talking about that? Anthony, you want?
Yeah, I'll give a brief introduction to this. There's not a heck of a whole lot to it, and Dan McKenzie is with us as well. This is almost manna from heaven because it's very unexpected. You guys know that we did have a settlement with the insurance company for the tanker truck itself from that crash in January of 2019. And so now we've been contacted by the insurer for the driver of the SUV that was involved in that collision. And they have offered an insurance settlement agreement for $11,500, which is actually more than what we got from the tanker truck company. And that, of course, would partially reimburse the cost of the fire department's response to that incident. I did have the town attorney review the insurance agreement. He made a few changes to it that were agreeable to the insurance company's legal counsel. And so we're recommending that you authorize the town manager to execute that agreement. Additionally, so that if you do, that also raises the question of how to use those funds. And you may recall that on the July 14th ballot, we do have an ordinance for this sort of cost recovery mechanism, and all the funds raised from that are, we've talked about earmarking those for payroll costs in the subsequent fiscal year for the fire department. And given that if not for the cancellation of our town meeting, assuming that ordinance passes and would be in effect, that's exactly what we would be doing with this money. And so Dan and I talked about that, and we do think that would be an appropriate use of these funds, is just to use them to help offset some of the need to raise and appropriate tax dollars in order to help fund payroll costs in the fire department next year.
Excuse me a minute. Ernie?
Yes.
Cover for me for a few
Yes.
minutes, would you? Thank you. I'll be back before the vote.
Okay. Thanks for the warning. Okay, where were we?
I'm done with
We were
my
in-
spiel. Let me unmute Dan here to see if there's anything that Dan would like to add to that. Dan, can you unmute yourself? And Dan's not responding, but I'll try to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I got one. How can you do
Okay.
that? How can you do that? Assuming you use that money to offset the wages until the ordinance passes. You know,
Well, because we wouldn't actually use those funds until the 2021 budget. So by then we'll have an answer from the voters. And if they say, no, that's not, that they defeat the ordinance, then I guess it'll be up to you guys to determine how to best use those funds.
in other words, it's got to be put away for now until the vote gets done, correct?
Yeah, and you may recall, Ricky, we talked about that previously just because we never know from year to year how much money that this ordinance may generate. Some years it may generate zero, and some years it may generate, $20,000 like this year. And so what we plan to do is just, collect those monies in one year and then the next year.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
I'm back, Ernie.
Thanks. Take it.
Thank you.
Sorry, now if you're looking for me.
There's the chief.
Go ahead, Chief.
I didn't hear. What was the question?
Should we do this or not?
Take the money?
Yes.
What was it about the ordinance? Yes,
I asked
most
the question.
definitely.
Go ahead.
I asked the question,
One is
Dan.
going to help in the future of hiring of people, and it will help offset it.
Hang on, Dan, just a minute. Ricky, finish your thought.
I was just telling Dan, I'm the one that asked the question. My question was, how can you take the money?
What was the question?
Listen to him. He's giving it to you now.
How can you take the money and use it towards wages if the ordinance hasn't passed yet? That was my question to Anthony.
Oh, you're talking about the next amount of money?
Yeah, the 11,000, whatever it is.
Well,
I just thought it ought to go into a different account until the ordinance is passed by the taxpayers.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Ricky. And so we would. I mean, we just sort of put those in a holding account until a decision is made on the ordinance, and then we can move forward from there.
I think it's a great idea, but I just want to make sure we're doing it right.
yep. No, I'm good with that.
Doesn't the
Okay.
we had an article we've always had an article, I don't know always, but last year we had an article which allowed us to accept funds from different organizations. I don't know whether that was a forever article or not, but it could be argued, I think, that because the town meeting has been extended, that last year's warrant is still in effect. What do you think, Anthony?
I think I would have to go back and I was just looking over the ballot today, and I know the article that you're talking about because it's on the ballot this year, and it is meant to be a forever article.
Mm-hmm.
It made some very specific language regarding grants, gifts, and donations. I'm not sure an insurance settlement would fit within the parameters of that article. I'd have to go back and look at the language.
Okay.
I'll make a motion we accept this anyways.
Okay, motion's
Yeah.
been made to accept the funds anyway. Anthony, who seconded?
I did.
Okay. Jack, do you have a question?
Oh, let me unmute Jack.
Wait a minute, Jack. Jack, you're muted, Jack. He's talking away, but he doesn't know he's muted.
I'm trying.
Sometimes I talk away and my wife mutes me.
We ought to.
He's not on. Jack, can you hear me? Wave at me, Jack. Wave at me if you can hear me. You stopped. Jack, we couldn't hear you. Your microphone is muted.
Can someone text him?
Jack,
Yeah,
go down in the left-hand corner of your screen where you see the microphone. There you go.
Oh, how's that?
That's it. You're on.
Yeah, I'll repeat. I was just concerned whether the best use for these monies would be from a payroll standpoint, because they can't be, as Anthony pointed out, predicted from one year to the next. And they may make quite an interruption in the flow of the continuity of the payrolls. On the other hand, if they were used to apply to purchasing of a fire truck or a rescue vehicle or some other capital expense related to the fire department, it would make for a smoother budgeting process overall. That's my only concern.
Good thought.
Wait a minute.
we don't have to decide tonight anyway how it's going to be spent. We don't know that we can spend it until Anthony, you have to review the article. Am I correct?
So you're right. We don't have to make a decision about how to spend it tonight. And, and Jack does make a good point. It's something that I've kind of argued is we shouldn't use a one-time revenue source for ongoing expenses. But we thought that this might be a good way to help offset the cost of a second firefighter if that comes to pass as well. And so, I would have no qualms whatsoever about putting this into a capital reserve account and then using that for some sort of future capital project.
Well, all we're voting on right now is whether to accept the money. And I think if we do vote to do that, we just put in a holding account, as you said earlier, Anthony, until we decide what's going to happen to it.
Fill it down, vote.
Whatever is necessary to do.
So I'll make a motion that we vote to accept the money and authorize Anthony to execute for work.
Okay. The motion's already been made, but I'll let you second it.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made to accept the money and have Anthony. We're gonna have Anthony research what to do with it. No.
We'll have an agreement.
We're broken up. Say it again slowly,
Sorry.
Melanie.
To authorize the town to accept the insurance settlement and to give Anthony the authority to sign for it.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. All right, so the motion was made to accept the money, give Anthony the authority to sign for it. Any other discussion? Made and seconded. All right, Kathy, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Rick,
Yes.
Ernie,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and the chair says yes, 5-0. Good. We'll accept the money. And Anthony, you can sign for it. Consideration of moving to written minutes for select board meetings supplemented by audio-visual recordings. This is your baby, Anthony. So,
This has been for a long time.
Yeah, it's I won't take full credit for this because the communications committee, we have two members of the communications committee present during this meeting right now, have been urging me to look into this and to pursue it, and I very much agree with their stance on this, which is that we should have minutes in a written form, essentially for two reasons: because they offer greater transparency and they better serve the public. I think the recording of the meetings was a good idea. It just simply hasn't worked that well in practice. It doesn't yield a clear audio file, and I found that out personally this past week when I was going back. I had to re-listen to a discussion of a topic at the board table, and thank goodness I was there because I knew sort of what was going on with the discussion, but otherwise I don't think I would have had any idea because that system is only picking up about two voices clearly. And so that doesn't yield a great deal of transparency. And if citizens want to know what happened during the meeting, it doesn't help them as well either. So sometimes it's difficult to hear what's going on, and sometimes it's impossible. Also, too, occasionally we have meetings that run 3 hours or so. And if someone's looking for what happened during a specific topic, and they've got to scroll through 3 hours of an audio file in order to perhaps find a 10-minute conversation, I think that puts a great deal of onus on our citizens. And lastly, I'm always apprehensive about marrying too closely with any one technology, because every technology will at some point become obsolete. And I think that's true with the MP4 recordings that we currently have. Just a few years ago, compact discs and laser discs were ubiquitous. And now, most laptops do not even have a disk drive. So I'm afraid that those MP4 recordings may not serve us well in the long run. And so by contrast, I think our written minutes they can be clear, they can be concise. They're not meant to be transcriptions of what happens during a meeting, and they're in a format that can always be preserved. So I'm not suggesting that we should do away with the recordings altogether. I think they could still serve as a valuable supplement, so that if a citizen is looked at the minutes and they want more detail and they want to plug in into what happened during a discussion, then they can do that. Should there be any sort of a dispute that arises about the minutes, whether that's in your approval of them or something that happens subsequently, well, then hopefully that audio file gives us irrefutable evidence of exactly what transpired. And then from the clerk's standpoint, I think they would serve as a good resource for helping to craft those minutes. So what I'm recommending, and I think with the communication committee's endorsement, is that we transition to written minutes that would be approved at each meeting, effective immediately.
Questions, comments from the board?
I
He's
think,
taking
The board.
28 minutes.
I think it's a,
Go ahead, Kathy.
I just think it's a great idea. I prefer written because I'm very much a visual kind of person. The audio ones, as I've tried to listen to them in the past, I've just given up because they're not clear. And if anybody else can try to find stuff in them, they're better than I am. Because anyway, I prefer written. So.
Anybody else? Any other board members?
I will
Ricky?
speak, yes. That was quite a discussion that we've had several years ago about this. You either got to have one or the other that are your legal minutes.
Yep.
Actually, you don't even have to have minutes, we found. But anyways, I just want to know how much time somebody's going to spend writing all these, the whole meeting down. I mean, some of our meetings are short, some of them are going to be long. Do we have people that are going to do this? They got time enough to do this? That's
So I've unmuted our town clerk, Cheryl Mitchell, who has done the written synopses since we've gone to this format of meetings. So Cheryl, do you want to weigh in on how long it takes?
Wait. Any other members of the board have comments?
I got another, I mean, I got, the other thing that bothers me is sometimes in the minutes, not everything gets written down that's been said. And that's where the problem comes in. If it's on a tape, it's been said, and that's what happened. You know what? I'm gonna vote to stay the way it is.
Okay, so may I address that second concern of yours? Is that the board will have the opportunity to approve the minutes at each meeting. So if there's something that's not in the minutes that the board feels strongly should be in the minutes, all they have to do is vote to amend those minutes in that sort of way, and that way it reflects the board's memory.
I understand that. I've been through that, and I'm not sure that's the right way. We spend a lot of time on minutes when we should be spending on other business.
And I agree with you, Rick. I don't think the board table is the place for the board to review the minutes. I think the minutes would be provided in advance, and the board should look over those in advance and come armed with their changes to the board table so that we're not sitting there as the board reads through the minutes.
We shouldn't be. That's what we've done in the past. We'd wordsmith the minutes, and that was crazy. That took us hours sometimes, as you know, Rick. But when Anthony's right, you should review the minutes and either come to the meeting prepared to accept them or reject them or ask for modifications. And the other thing is, though, when you modify it, you should not be changing a vote. If you voted against something, you voted against it. And that's what the minutes should reflect. Go ahead, Ricky. Go ahead, Rick.
Whatever, I guess. I've got mixed feelings on it. Thank you.
Okay. Cheryl wanted to say something? Cheryl Mitchell?
I don't know. Anthony started to ask me something. I'm not sure what he wanted to ask.
Yeah, just simply, how long has it taken you over the last few meetings to compose the synopses?
It doesn't take much time at all, but they've been pretty basic. There's not a lot of detail in them. I mean, you guys have read them. So, I mean, it depends on how much detail you want. Because I sit here and I take minutes the whole time the meeting's going on. So when I get back to work, if The only time I usually go back and listen to it is if I missed something or I thought I heard something and I have to check it.
If I can, that you're just taking the highlights of everything and the vote. You're not really getting into the discussion that is, you're just basically taking the minutes, what the highlights of it. So you don't get the full story. I mean, that's not, I'm not blaming you. That's not what I'm doing, but that's where the tape comes in and you get the whole story. Thank you.
Regina, did you have I know you wanted to say something. Regina
Yeah,
Cooper.
I just wanted to echo what Anthony said, and also, especially the quality of the audio. It's really hard to tell who's speaking and what they're saying. And we have a lot of elderly folks in Belgrade that probably can't access the technology or won't be able to understand the tape. So we really are excluding people from knowing what happens at the meetings. So we have been asking the board to make this change back to minutes for a few years now. So I'm really in support of it. I hope that we can do that. It also makes it so that the meetings are researchable. Right now, it's really hard to research what happens in the meetings just through the audio. And I've had other board members, not select board, but other members from other boards in the town tell this to me, that they have had trouble trying to find information of things that have happened at the select board meetings. So I think that, in the spirit of transparency, that this is really going to be a good move for the town.
We lost your name at the end there, Regina.
Oh, I was just saying can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, just in the spirit of transparency too, I think this would be really important for the town, to help people know what's going on. I mean that's what our job is as the communications committee. We just really, everyone in the committee supports this.
Anybody else? I have something to say, but I'm going to wait for everybody else to talk. Anybody else? My feeling, and I went through that discussion that Ricky was talking about, and my feeling at that time, and it's still the same, is I don't care. Pick one and go with it. And at the time we decided to go with the recordings. Personally, I like the written minutes myself, but if we have two sets of minutes, and that's what we're setting up for, which one's going to be correct and which one's official? Anthony you gave us a number of reasons why the recorded minutes, the recordings are not sufficient, are not good. And it's just for that reason I think we ought to get rid of them. We don't need to keep a separate set of minutes unless it's for a short time for the clerk, the person who's taking minutes, to review them and then dispose of them. But the official minutes, whatever they are, if we go with written minutes, those are the official minutes. And under state law, those are the official minutes. There is no discussion. There is no argument. If it's not written down on paper, it doesn't exist. So for that reason, I think I would not vote to make I would vote to make a change to go to written, but not as suggested. Anybody else?
Well, let me address one point there. You're right in that whatever it is that the board approved, if the board moves to written minutes and they approve those minutes at each meeting, those are the formal official minutes, no doubt.
Good. Then why do we need a recording?
Well, because I think it could be helpful at times, as Cheryl just mentioned, just to make sure that that we've if she has a question about what happened, she doesn't have to rely upon her memory or my memory or anybody else's. She can just go to the audio tape.
I don't think my question still got answered. Are you telling me that our clerk has time in the day to do this? This isn't going to be a 5-minute thing. This was a big discussion last time that the clerks were they didn't have time for this. This is why we basically went video voice thing. And now all of a sudden we got time. I don't get it. There's some things that I don't jive here. You know, I think the committee's pushing harder than what we need to be. We're the ones that make the decision how we want the minutes. And I think that better take a look at that.
I want minutes.
Bruce. Go ahead, Melanie.
I want written minutes. I want us to keep the audio backup. We had an incident at last year's town meeting where we needed clarification on something and had to try to find the audio from the select board meeting. Several people were trying to find the audio to figure out which meeting out of a series of 3 of them may have the answer we were looking for. So several people were listening to audio recordings that were pitiful, trying to figure out exactly what was said so that we could be following up with that. So I think having the audio recordings is a good backup tool for us. But I think you aren't able, as we discovered at that point, you cannot research stuff through the audio. You can't keyword search something in the computer file and have it pull up sections that reflect that you can in a written meeting minute. So you could potentially 6 years down the road say, somebody wants to know why we decided to let K-WISP do this. If we had written minutes, you could keyword search it, pick the one that follows it, and then find the audio file. So if you wanted to listen to the whole thing, you have that option.
Bruce, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, if you're gonna
Sorry.
stay with the,
Wait a minute, Bruce. Were you finished, Melanie? Did I cut you off? Or did you
Nope.
just?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Bruce, go ahead.
if you're gonna stay with the audio, then you need to get better equipment so you can actually hear the conversations, but you cannot hear them. It's very hard to research back on it.
Anybody else? Yes, Jack.
I think the audio is a fine thing for backup and research, but I think the model for written record is right before us all in the town meeting warrant. You have the statement of the question in a line or 2 or 3 or 4, and then you have a vote, and that's all you need is the minutes, in the minutes.
Right. I think you made a point there. In fact, state law doesn't even require that much. Any other discussion? Any other comments? Somebody make a
So
motion. Go ahead,
I am
Melanie.
in agreement. Hold on. So I am
Go ahead.
agreement. You know, I felt like when we were purchasing this audio equipment last year, that my concern about that kind of poo-pooed, and we were assured that what we were getting is a wicked deal and it was going to take care of the problems that we had previously. And it didn't. So we may need to, when we can convene and spend money for backup, we should have something that is easily listenable. You know, so we do have to really tackle that.
Anyone else? Ernie?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. What's the motion? Do we have a motion? Somebody want to make a motion? Don't make
I
a
make-
motion. We can't do anything.
I make a motion
Go ahead.
that we go. I make a motion.
We can't get a complete sentence out of you, Melanie.
That we go to written starting, what's up?
You were so
Can-
broken up, we couldn't get a complete sentence
Hear
out
me?
of you. Hear you now, yeah, go ahead.
I make a motion that as of the first meeting in August of 2020, that the board returns to the policy of written meeting minutes.
Anything else? What what about the suggestion that we keep the recordings for backup?
I will second, my second part of the motion is that we keep whatever audio recording we happen to have indefinitely.
Is there a second?
I would second it, but I would also, I want to know why August?
I just figured that would give a month to tweak. You know, we can do sample written minutes for our meetings in July. See if that's what the board is,
You're
what
breaking
we're
up, but
comfortable with.
I get the
You
general.
know, maybe we do a trial run of it and just,
Well, in fact, it's all trial run. If we don't think it's working, we can stop it after the first meeting. But if we're going to do it, we ought to do it right, start it right away. Our samples will be the meetings, the minutes of the meetings that we undertake from the next meeting on. This meeting is not included. So in other words, the next meeting,
right.
we do it. Now I have a question, and it's the same question I've had before, and I've raised this to Anthony. How is it going, if the minutes say one thing, and they are the official minutes, we've already established that, and somebody thinks they hear something on the recording which is different, how is that going to settle an argument? It seems to me it's going to create an argument. Can anybody answer that?
Yes, it's the difference between do you believe your lion eyes or your lion ears? So, you know, I think it's going to require that the board and the clerk and the town manager be on their game and making sure that the minutes that are approved are an accurate reflection of what happens. And I think I agree with Melanie that having that recording should help to ensure the accuracy of those minutes, those written minutes.
And once the board approves said minutes, that's the official record anyway.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. But don't you see, if that's the official record and then somebody finds something on the recording that looks different, is that tough? Don't tell me about it. The official record is written. I mean, what is the purpose of keeping the recording? If the recording is not the official record, why are we keeping it? To check on the written minutes? Once they're adopted, they're the minutes.
I don't think you have to keep them. I like them because, like Anthony said, if I have to refer back to them when I'm typing things up and getting them ready, I'd like to have that there. But I don't believe you have to keep them.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about destruction of a public record. I'm not sure. We'd have to look into that, what we're allowed to do. Bruce, did you have your hand up?
I mean, my biggest thing was, you know, yes, you accept the written minutes as the official minutes. I'm kind of on your belief that maybe once it's done and the written minutes have been written, maybe we shouldn't keep, you know, don't keep the tapes anymore. I don't know on that part, but I think the official minutes, once it's written and the board has accepted it, that becomes your official minutes at that point.
Yep, that's what I
agree.
That's what I think.
I think it's going to be confusing as heck.
Well, let's vote on it and find out.
All right, let's vote. Motion's been made, been seconded.
Can I hear the motion again? Or did we lose her?
I think we lost her. I don't see her on the screen. The motion was that we go to written minutes. She said August 1st. Go to written minutes for the meeting of August 1st and keep the recordings as backup. Is that, Anthony, pretty much what she said?
That's what I got.
Correct.
Exactly what you said.
Okay.
So can we amend that to not be August?
Well, go ahead. What's your amendment? We'll amend it and
I think we should just get at it.
Say what?
I think we should just get at it. And if it's not what we want to do, then it's not what we want to do. But I think that I don't see an advantage to waiting.
Ricky, it's your, was you, no, it was not, it was Melanie. Melanie, would you accept an amendment to your motion to start at the next meeting?
Well, my plan was to start at the next meeting, give the board a chance to review them, tweak them, and as of August, they've so that we can see we're getting what we need from the minutes before it becomes the official written record. So any bugs that we find, we can get out.
I don't know. Does anybody understand what she said?
No, I didn't get it at all.
Megan, go fix that. Go fix that internet, will you?
Yeah.
So Melanie, if you'll turn off your video, you might get a stronger audio stream.
Just do audio. Go to audio, Melanie, and see if we can, and repeat what you said.
Okay, hang right on. Is that better?
So far.
Okay. So the reason I said the 1st of August, because that gives us a couple of meetings to have written minutes instead of a synopsis. It gives the board a chance to review them ahead of time, look at them and say, this is exactly what we were thinking, or this is what we need to do differently. So that gives us meetings to get through that process because we've done it. And I think part of the issue in the past was that a lot of back and forth from the board that was written into the minutes. And it need to be that way. So it's the only reason I went with August 1st. We could go with July 1st. And then one review. So would that be better, Kathy?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So you're amending it. You're amending a motion to say July 1st?
Yes.
Who made the second?
I
Who
second. Excellent.
Is that agreeable with you too, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay, the motion, Ernie? Did you say something, Ernie?
No.
So the motion is that we go to written minutes as of the first meeting in July. We go to written minutes, retaining the recordings for backup. Okay, is that clear to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Kathy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ricky?
No.
Ernie?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Chair votes no. So it's 3-2, passes. Okay.
Mr.
Next item.
Chair, Cheryl has her hand raised if I think she would like to ask a question.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
I think it's kind of late now, but I was just going to say, I don't understand what there is to question about the minutes, because as Jack said, the question is stated, and then there's a motion made, and there's a second, and there's a vote. There's not, you don't want to start getting into the dialogue and the back and forth, because that's when things start happening.
You're
So
right.
there's really not a lot to do that's going to be different.
I don't disagree with you, but the rest of the board did, so.
Okay.
So Cheryl and I will work on the minutes for this meeting, and we'll provide you a sample of what we plan to bring forward in the future, starting in July.
Main thing, board, if this is going to work, we should not be wordsmithing the minutes. They should have your decision in mind before we come. The first thing we'll do is ask for approval of the minutes. You'll either vote yes or no, or ask for minor changes. Again, we're not changing votes. We're not changing anything of substance. But if there's a mistake made that you see, something that you did or didn't do, and that's going to be it. And then the minutes stand once we vote yes. Okay? You understand it?
Yep.
Okay, good. Next item then. Melanie, you're lit up. Do you have something to say?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Next item, consideration of a resolution from Bar Harbor Trust Services adding interim treasurer Nicholas Poole to those authorized to manage the town's accounts. You want to explain what that's about, Anthony?
The Bar Harbor Trust just simply requires a resolution authorizing our interim treasurer in order for him to help with the management of our investment accounts. And so he would be added to a list that includes me and our deputy treasurer, Mary Vogel.
I'll make that motion.
Yep. Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. Kathy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, 5-0. It's passed. Good. You put that on DocuSign. What is it? What do you call this thing that we use to sign?
You sign?
So those signatures are actually just, oh yeah, I will send you that via DocuSign.
DocuSign, okay. As you do with the warrant.
Yeah, let me read the warrant to you guys. It's warrant 73 in the amount of $989,887.23. And let me just say that includes our monthly payment to the school district, along with our bond payment this year for the road paving project.
Right.
Have a motion? We need a motion?
Motion.
Made.
Made.
We don't need a second. Do we need to second this? I don't think we'd second. Do we second it at this point? No. Yeah, made. Somebody seconded it.
I'll second it.
Made and seconded. Okay. I have a request on these. Is there any reason why we can't put the last page at the end of the document instead of the beginning of the document? Somebody?
Yes, we can do that.
I'd appreciate that. I brought that up before, but apparently got lost. Should have checked the recording. Anyway, all right. Any comments, questions on the warrant? Anybody?
Nope, it's good.
Ricky, you must have something.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
On the
First page.
On second thing down, well contamination issue.
Yes.
We had the
I'm sorry, Rick, you broke up there.
on the page number 1, the second one down, the lawyers,
Yes, sir.
well contamination.
Yes, sir.
We've had more issues with that. Is that correct?
So you guys may recall that you asked me to ask the legal counsel if there was anything that we could do to prevent DOT from purchasing that piece of property. And that was the legal research for that question.
Okay, I thought it was, but I wanted to ask.
Certainly.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody?
Yeah.
No.
Melanie has something?
Yes, Melanie. Go ahead, Mel.
Other part of that legal question for the attorney, Anthony, was whether or not the board needed to buy a 2011 agreement. And I don't recall getting an answer for that piece.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Other of that question that we were supposed to ask attorney was whether or not board was owned.
Yeah, I think she wanted to know we were supposed to get a
11 agreement for contamination, the 50. Right, if in 2011, if we were bound by that in 2020.
So,
Is
so the short answer, so the short answer is yes. And I will send you what Mr. Saucier sent to us in regards to that question.
I have another question too.
Go ahead.
On page number 2, on the electrical bill, why is it Center for All Seasons still at $219 a month with no.
To be honest with you, Rick, I don't know. That's a good question. Obviously, we haven't been using very many utilities over there, although we do have the outside lights that come on, you know, those parking lot lights. But let me check into that to find out why that is that amount. That's a good
Aren't
question.
they all LED outside?
They are.
I believe they are, yes. Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Melanie? Go ahead, Melanie.
I'm okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Nope.
Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, Kathy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
Ernie?
Anthony sent it to me.
Ernie?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Melanie?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Okay, they passed. That's good. We're done. We're done with that. We go to the town manager's report. Go ahead, Anthony.
So I'm going to actually mention 3 things that are not on my written report that have sort of come up since then. The first one, since we were talking about the salt well, you guys saw that I forwarded to you an email from the DOT wanting to address the salt well issue of the salon that's there on Route 27.
Right.
And they have a pretty serious problem there. You know that a well that has 250 milligrams per liter is considered to be contaminated, and they are over 3,300 milligrams. So, you know, I think they were sending up a trial balloon to see how the town feels about addressing that. I did get an estimated cost for what they are proposing, and it would be $15,000. And so I'm just interested in your thoughts and how you would like to respond.
So who's that?
I'm sorry, Melanie, can you please repeat that?
So you said they sent up a trial balloon. Who's that?
The DOT.
DOT.
Anybody else? Personally speaking, I found that
Jose?
letter from them
No,
confusing.
that is 15,000. Oh, I didn't see a letter. Is there a letter somewhere?
Yeah, there were a couple of emails that I sent earlier in the week.
Yep.
Let me pull them.
Ernie? I guess.
No, I didn't have anything.
Kathy, you have something to say?
No, I don't feel like I'm getting a complete picture of what it is that is really wanted by the DOT. They want to drill a well.
Yeah, so they want to drill a shallow well that wouldn't go down into the bedrock in the belief that they can hit clear water or clean water shallower than going down deep.
So if it's going to cost $15,000, that means that our share of that would be 1/2.
Correct.
I'm not sure from that letter that they sent. I had the feeling at some point they were saying it was the landowner's problem. Like he caused it.
Well, there was a question from the paralegal whom we've talked with before, asking that same thing, and the hydrogeologist Dwight Dowdy was saying that no, that wasn't the case. That he's actually turned off that system and is bringing in bottled water for his business, which he needs. He needs clean water for the hair salon. And so, and he's having a similar issue to what we've seen at the town hall with his RO system, where once you remove the salt from that water, where does it go? Back into the ground,
Right.
further contaminates the groundwater. My personal opinion about this is I'm still concerned that we don't have an overall game plan. And I don't feel like that's necessarily the fault of the DOT or the town. It's, right now, you will recall the game plan was that we would sit down with property owners and talk with them about, the possibility of acquiring some of their land or drilling shallow wells or whatever the case might be. And we simply haven't been able to do that with what's going on right now.
Right.
We have tried this before at, on the other Route 11, and I'm not sure that worked out real well. I think they've done it a couple. Throwing good money into a bad hole.
Bruce, did you have your hand up?
That's what, my thing was gonna be is, yes, we have good wells in the area that are shallow wells, but I believe they're more drilled wells. I believe they were pounded wells. And my fear is if we go with the drilled well, you're not gonna hit the water because they drill too fast. And that's why you need to do, if it's gonna happen, it should be pounded wells, not drilled wells. You need gravel wells.
You know what? And I think those are good questions. Maybe at our next meeting, maybe we should invite Dwight to come and explain the thinking behind this this theory that they have.
That's a good idea. We could actually have a conversation.
We've had several conversations with Dwight, but nevertheless, he could discuss this particular issue. Is that what you're referring to, Anthony?
Correct.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? Ask him to come in. Then we can also practice on our written minutes. Did I see Jack? Jack, you have your hands up. What's up, Jack?
Question on this subject. If the state has put in a good well somewhere near the state garage, which I understand it has, and if that water can be piped to the cemetery, which I think has been agreed, why can't that water also go to the town office and to the property in question next to the town office?
Would you not have the problem of setting up a public water supply that one if we did that?
Well, it might be a public water supply, but the well exists and a pipe will exist to go across very close to where I'm talking about.
I mean, I don't remember the details, Anthony. Perhaps you do. But
I'm not looking for your answer, but I raised that question.
Well, and I think that would be a question worth raising with Dwight when we next meet.
Okay. Why don't you ask him to come to the next meeting?
Will do.
But tune into the next meeting. All right. Anything else? You got?
Yes, I have two other things I wanted to raise. And I've talked with all of the directors about it. I've mentioned to you guys previously that I'm just very concerned about what our financial state is going to be once we learn what the impact of all of this is going to be on municipal revenue sharing. And again, I want to disabuse anyone of thinking that we are necessarily going to end the year well into the black, because right now there are July 1 fiscal year towns that are doing their budgeting, and they're budgeting anywhere from 30% to 60% less municipal revenue sharing than was originally projected. And that comes from two things. One, the economy being in the ditch, and fewer sales tax receipts happening. And then the second thing is that the state may well reduce the percentage of those receipts that it shares. So we were scheduled to get 3.75% of state sales receipts, municipalities across the state. And there's a huge concern by the MMA about reducing that to 3%. And so, we're scheduled to get $266,000 in municipal revenue sharing this year. And I'm very concerned that we may fall anywhere, somewhere close to $100,000 short of that. And so I'm looking at ways that we can reduce cost at every single turn. And being a service organization, most of what we do is related to, in providing that service is related to payroll, to people. And so I think it would be prudent of us at this point to freeze all wages. That is, we don't administer any of the 3% average pay raises that we had planned to give to people, on their anniversary dates, until we have a clearer picture of what our municipal revenue sharing is going to be and how we might further reduce cost in order to not end the year in the red. And so I'm not asking for a vote. I'm just, I guess I'm floating my own trial balloon now. It's just to see what your thoughts are about that. It's not something I want to do, but I think it makes sense.
If this comes to fruition, as you suspect it will, it's clear we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to cut something somewhere. Bruce Galush, you have a question?
Yeah. Now, if you do happen to go through and freeze the payroll, is there employees that have already got that 3% raise prior to now?
There is one that has.
Okay, so so how is that fair to the rest of the employees in the town?
There's nothing fair about this, Bruce.
I realize there's nothing fair about this, but I'm just stating a fact that I'm not so concerned about this year's budgetary stuff. It's next year's budgetary stuff. I'm seeing the future, and I'm thinking next year's budgetary stuff is going to be worse than this year's.
And you may be right about that. But we typically receive our municipal revenue sharing check in November or December. And if all of a sudden, we get $100,000 less than what we had anticipated, and we're caught flat-footed, that's not a position I want to be in.
When do we traditionally give those raises? As the date comes up? Yes,
the plan was, of course, recall that every member of our staff got a $1 per hour increase effective January 1.
Right.
And for a full-time employee, that amounts to a $2,000 raise, which is that's not chump change. And so the plan was, in order to try to be more competitive with our pay scale, we were also going to give 3% raises effective on everyone's anniversary date, assuming that everyone, at least met expectations in their performance review. And so obviously those are staggered throughout the year, depending upon when someone came on board.
Is there any way we can defer that to the end of the year?
I think that's a wise idea, Michael. I think that what we should do is, if we get to the end of the year and we are surprised that we are in the black, then maybe make those pay raises effective retroactively. And so I just, again, I'm just very concerned about being caught flat-footed and not having a place where we could try to recoup some savings when we could.
Well, I think if we defer payment to the end of the year, at the end of the year, if we're in the black, then we can give it as we had intended to. And at the same time, you can let the employees know what's happening, so they know that we're in a box. We could be in a box. And that might be one of the things we have to do.
Oh, believe me, I have talked about this with every single one of our directors, and I have told them and others in the community, hey, if you have ideas about where you think some places where we can reduce costs, and please let me know. And I guess one of the ways that we might incentivize people to try to find ways to help us save money is, if their pay raise is going to be dependent on it to some extent.
Any of the board have any comments on the suggestion that we defer?
I like it. I like it. I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I think
Anybody
you
else?
gotta do
Rick?
it. I think you gotta do it, and that's what I've been saying.
Yep.
Along that things aren't good.
I agree. I think
Melanie?
that-
I agree as well.
Okay. Why don't we don't have to take a vote on it. Bruce, what?
Just what I'm saying, you know, if you guys are looking at places to cut, okay, you know, so you guys are cutting your employees by cutting their 3% raises for the year. Now, I realize you guys don't get a paycheck, okay? You guys are elected officials. So maybe you guys give back a little bit of your stipend back to the town for the taxes also.
That's a thought. That's something we can give some thought to.
You know,
Not
if
gonna
they
be-
need mine to survive, they can have it.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a gesture to your employees of the town. That's basically what I'm saying, you know?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good gesture. That's all
We
it is.
we should share in the hurt is what you're saying.
Sharing the agony of it all.
Yep.
Fine, that's okay with me.
Yeah, I'd be willing to consider that. So defer my raise to the end of the year.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think that's true. I mean, if it comes down to, well, actually, we should probably do it now, because if it comes down to the end of the year, I'm not going to give it back. It'd be hurt. That would hurt. What do you think of that?
We could freeze our
Yeah.
paycheck if we all agree to it. We could freeze our paycheck starting now.
Okay. Well, we've been paid for this month, so starting next month's paycheck. Can we do that, Anthony? Freeze the money and put it in an account. Then
We wouldn't put it in an account. We just wouldn't spend it. So at 6 to 1, half dozen to the other.
Well, I'm thinking if at the end of the year, we're able to pay the employees, then we can be paid too, the money that was withheld.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Same mechanism.
The rest of the board agreeable with that? Melanie?
Well, 3% and what are hundreds a month are very different.
Well, yeah, I realize that, but we don't get that raise anyway, so all we have to give is to pay us.
Right. Well, take it.
Okay, I'm hearing no. Ernie, do you have any problem with that?
Well, so what we're proposing to forego our stipend for the rest of the year? Is that what we're?
They
What am I hearing here?
they'll withhold it. It'll be held aside for us. If at the end of the year we're in a position to pay the raises to the employees, then we'll get that money. It'll be held. It'll be dispersed to us at that time, if they're able to do it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I don't want to put, I think it should be voluntary. I don't want to speak for everybody on the board. I mean, I can afford to do that. Maybe the majority of the board can. I'm not a single wage earner in a household who maybe, looks forward to that every month. So, I don't want to put anybody who might consider this in a position where they feel they have to go along because they're pressured to.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm polling everybody right now, Ernie. I'm asking each of the board members, are they willing to go along with it?
So as not to put anyone in an awkward position, anyone who wants to do that can just contact me via email or text or phone call, and we can just deal with it on an individual basis.
Yeah, I prefer to. Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's what we'll do. If you contact board members, you contact Anthony and let him know if you're willing to go along with that or not. All right, what else, Anthony?
Just one last thing. This is a little happier thing because it involves a wedding, but it's a wedding with a conundrum in that they would like to use the village green. It'd be a small wedding, fewer than 50 people. Do you guys have any concerns on that?
No, it's really up to the, recreation, up to Lily and her group. As long as they follow the rules and clean up after themselves and whatever other the rules are, I don't remember what they are, but it's up to Lily. And it's up to the recreation committee.
Okay. We just didn't want you guys to be surprised by driving by there and there's a wedding and you're going, what the heck's going on? So we just
As long
kind of
as
wanted to give you a heads up.
As long as it's not my wedding.
Good
Well,
of you to think of that.
Correct?
I'm sorry, Melanie, can you please repeat that?
So they would be renting the space, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Yeah.
I've got a question. I got blocked out with the audio, but if you could take it back on the pay raises.
No, we're withholding your money.
Yeah, I'm not worried about mine, but I'm just thinking something, I'll just put my 2 cents is maybe with Anthony and the directors, we know we're in tough times as everybody can look at their budgets and maybe save so they can still get their raises, but we save in other ways.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something you really don't need this year and we're going to have to cut back anyway. We know that by the end of the year, and all the directors should be looking at that now. And then maybe they could still get their raises and cut back at some things you don't need or could get by with for a year.
Well, that's the whole thing. If we can save the money, if we are still in the black, everybody will get their raises.
Right, but I think it's something we should start now to look at, not wait till December. If some of the directors start looking at ways to save, we might be okay.
I think you're absolutely right, Dan. I'm sure Anthony's already thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing the training that we would normally do as a for instance, and Lily's doing a little thing like not buying T-shirts for the campers this year, and so there's no expense right now that's too small for us to consider not expending.
But maybe as directors, we should get together with you and see if there's other ways we can save some more.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Dan. I'll schedule individual conversations with each of you guys.
It all depends on how the vote goes in July on the budget anyway. But.
Yeah. Thank you,
That's
Dan.
all. That's all I had as far as the town manager's report.
Melanie, do you have something? You lit up.
Oh, sorry. Just before we get done to say, I don't know if anyone realizes, but Phil, who works at the community center, is one of our camp directors. He's been
what?
Program started the teen camp. He's been the Camp Loon director, so he's worked with the teens. And because we're not doing the teen program this year, this first year since 1989 that he has not been a camp counselor. So he has been delegated as the sanitation person. So I just thought if somebody sees Phil, can we air high five him on a job well done? I think him not being directly involved with the kids is going to be quite a loss for him.
Yeah. And I'll say something else about Phil too, Melanie, is right now, we're all trying to find the best ways that we can pitch in and help out. And so right now, he's the one who's cleaning the town office so that Chris, who had been doing it, has more time to work on the grounds of our many facilities. And so, and then when Phil has to become the sanitation officer for the camps, then the town office staff will be the one who's pitching in and cleaning the town office. So, and he's done that without complaint, and he's been a good soldier about that. And I very much appreciate it.
I don't think he ever complains. I just thought that it's important to recognize that, for more than 30 years, he's been a camp counselor, and, that's a long time. So
Hasn't
if
been
he's
quite 30 years.
Whatever. He's been there a lot. He's been there a while.
Oh, he hasn't been a camp counselor just in Belgrade. He did children Donkey. Has done a number of things
Okay.
for this. So just
Yeah, I was talking about it.
Yeah, your point's well taken. Could we move on now? Anything else on the town manager's report?
No, sir.
We have an exec. Go
Can I
ahead.
ask the town manager a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Why was somebody else mowing the village green up there last night?
Because he volunteered to do it and wanted to do it. And that was a way that we thought that we could free up some staff time in order to attend to some things at the cemetery.
Who mowed the lawn?
Okay.
Mike Hino.
Oh, he did. Okay. I'm sure it was done right then.
It looks good. If y'all get a chance, drive by and take a look.
Yeah, I will. I'll probably see Mike. I can see Mike out the window now. All right, anything else? If not, we have an executive session, is that correct?
No, sir, that was just in case we needed it, and there's no need
Okay.
for it tonight.
In that case, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
got it.
Made, second, I'll second it. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, I see 5 hands.
I'll say yes.
And Mel, I can't see Melanie's hand, but I'm sure it's up. All right, thank you very much, folks. We'll meet again soon. Anthony, you like my signal tonight, huh?
Goodbye, all.
Good. Take care,
Yeah.
folks.
Thank you.
Careful driving home.